YouTube is dialed in. Ho, Jackson.
What's up, brother?
What up, homie? I am just making sure our YouTube feed is going. We are recording, so we are good there. All right, I can hear that. All right, let's minimize that. Let's do this. Meeting is being transcribed. Perfect. Jackson, rock and roll time, brother.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 345 of Book Life, pitted with action and Manny B. I don't know where to start tonight. I'm at a little bit of a loss after finding out what I just found out.
I know. I text Jackson just a few minutes ago, and we'll keep his name out of it for now. A dear friend of ours is his I've lost both of my parents, and I just got word that one of our good friends, his mom passed away, and it sucks, dude. I know it's part of life, but when we lose our parents who have gave us life, um, and gave us love, and it's just hard when they leave the planet. Their soul and spirit are going to be with us, but yeah, to not be able to go home and have a nice freaking fresh refried beans off the stove. Those days are over, but it's the memories and the fact that they did care about us when they were here physically is what we should hold on to. So sorry to hit you with that, Jackson. He's a really good friend of yours. He's a really good friend of all of us, and yeah, it's shitty.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just kind of at a loss. I mean, I know you lost your mom not too far back, and mine is still with me, but God knows there's been a couple of scares with her heart condition, and dude,
Yeah,
I can't even begin to fathom a world without mom,
yeah,
so
yeah. It's a thing. I mean, we all know that, we have one life and we're here and we should take full advantage of it. And yeah, it's a tough life chapter that we all have to go through.
yeah, all I can really say now is I feel for you, brother. I wish I could be there to give you a big hug
Yeah.
because wow, yeah, heavy news. But let's keep things rolling. I know he'd want us to kind of do our thing anyway, regardless of the news.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if the tone's a little more somber tonight than usual, my apologies. But again, situation being what it is, it's just kind of tough news to hear. Friends are like extended family, and when they're down, you need to be able to lift them up, but at the same time, it's a heavy burden to bear. Knowing that your friends, your close ones are hurting. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but on a more positive note, my shout out this week goes to my sister Amanda and brother-in-law Greg, who are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary today.
25 years.
It's mind-boggling. Quarter century has gone by like that. I mean, I remember being at their wedding up in New Jersey 25 years ago. And since then they've created a beautiful family, you know, and I love them both to death. It's kind of funny because my brother-in-law Greg, I met him in, the local music scene, part of the New Jersey hardcore scene. He was the bass player for a band called Day One, and then another band called Second to None. And I used to hang out with him, go see bands play, and then things evolved. He met my sister, and you know, years down the road, he ended up becoming, quite literally, becoming family. And, I guess if there's one thing that can be said about the course of this evening's episode, that, wasn't necessarily the game plan, but it all ties back to family, whether it's blood relation or the family we acquire through our years and experiences. Yeah, I guess it just all boils down to cherishing the loved ones in your life. Enjoy the moments you have and, you know, be present in the moment and make as many great memories as possible.
True that. I mean, that's I mean, you nailed it. There's nothing for me to add to that.
So, yeah, and geez, I mean, again, I apologize. I'm kind of at a loss. I had this idea of where things were going, the direction this episode was going to go, and we made a hard left about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we went live. So,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of winging it and processing in my head right now.
Yeah.
So,
And we know that that our friend is also processing. I mean, it's not an easy thing, and he's going to take days, weeks, maybe even months to completely process it. But and I think you're right. I think what you mentioned is that he would want us to keep doing what we're doing. So I know it's going to be hard knowing what we know, but I think he'd be stoked if we kept rocking. And shout out to those guys that are in the chat right now. Thank you guys for chiming in live here for Pitted 345. And yeah, shout outs on my end. Um, I guess it would be, gosh, I didn't even think about it. And the last, I usually come up with a shout out maybe 15 minutes beforehand, but yeah, this one hit, this one hit. So my shout out is to all of us that are here present and able to uh, pick up the phone, which a lot of people, a lot we don't do nowadays. We are so easily, you know, it's so easy to text, send a message, or just drop an Instagram post and say, hey, but it's okay to pick up the phone and say what's up to your friends. So if there's somebody you haven't talked to in a while that you really care about, do that. So my shout out is going to the fact that we are still here and able to do that. So definitely do that once we're done here. Just pick one person you haven't talked to in a while and just call them up and let them hear their voice.
well, you know what? That's a perfect segue into news for this week. Because even though it's not necessarily bodyboarding related, it most certainly is, because June is Men's Mental Health Month.
Oh,
And I posted about it on my Instagram the other day. I threw up a quick story. Just check in on your people. Like you're saying, reach out, make that phone call. See where they're at. What's going on in their head. What's going on in their life. Because you never know. Unfortunately, a lot of us have been touched by the worst case scenario, and there's a lot of times where it's easily avoidable. Sometimes all it takes is a phone call.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's my continuation on what we've been discussing so far tonight. And now, the other piece of news I don't have any video footage. I haven't pulled anything up, but the South Swell is hitting Southern
Oh
California,
man.
and the Wedge is completely going off. I mean, I saw an image of Craig Wetter hitting a huge air reverse. I mean, I don't know how he didn't break every rib on the landing. And it's just going off up and down the coast right now. And I would not have been surprised if you would cancel tonight's episode to go hit up some water time. I know you were scoring some barrel time this past week.
Yeah.
So,
All right. You know what? I did find something. I'm just going to pick the first one. It's from Brett Weldon. It's on YouTube. Let's see if I can pull that up. Um, and yeah, it just said the title is The Wedge, Biggest Waves in Years, Crazy Rescue 2026. We'll just take a quick peek at it. And yeah, I mean, are you okay with that?
sure.
All right, let's check it out. This is Brett Weldon. I haven't seen it. I don't know what we're gonna see, but let's have a look. It's 42 minutes. We'll just play a couple minutes, and this is the wedge this morning today. Oh, how perfect that is. Oh my God. This is crunch time. Oh, but that is the wedge. And here's the best part about the wedge. If you haven't ever seen this firsthand, it's all about that backwash about to hit the wave right there. This is breaking less than 100 yards from your feet. You can be on the beach and you can witness the mayhem as if you're like in the water. It's pretty insane. There's the rescue. Oh, look at that out. So this was uploaded three hours ago. And right now on the West Coast, it's 5 o'clock. Wow. Do we know who the guy in the helmet is? Because he's picking off some solid ones. I know Chris Espinosa was out there on one of the bigger days. Look at this monster. Oh, no takers. But that is the wedge today. And I think they're going to see more of that tomorrow. But, oh my goodness. You know where we could possibly find that Craig image, like Craig video?
You know what? If you go to the Where is Harold channel, I'm sure you can find more posted there
On YouTube or Instagram?
on YouTube and Instagram. But Where is
Uh,
Harold? He usually has some raw, unedited goods to check out.
okay, yeah, let's just do a quick peek. Where is Harold?
Yeah, Wedge, when it has anything like 6 foot or bigger, I feel like is one of the most breakneck waves on the planet. I
Literally.
mean, there's usually paramedics on standby. And I'm no expert, not by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to riding the wedge, but I can tell you this. I have had some epic barrels there, especially on the right-hander, just over at cylinders. I've also had the wedge try and rip my arms and legs out and ragdoll me all the way onto the beach.
Oh
So
my God.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the wedge.
I mean, if you're stepping in the water, that I think that accounts for everyone. And it breaks. There's so much water moving so fast, it could just rip your body apart.
Yeah, I mean, we've known people that have been severely injured there. We know people, you know, God, we've seen it. People getting loaded into ambulances and taken to the emergency room because
Yeah.
the wedge, you want to talk about wreaking havoc and the ocean, doing some damage. Yeah. I mean, you can have the wave of your life there or the most nightmarish experience of your life there. And sometimes, you really have no control. You can take off on a wave there and think it's going to set up great, and then the backwash hits you and changes everything.
Yeah. I mean, we know somebody who did break their back there, and Luckily, he wasn't fully paralyzed, but he's still up and walking. But that wave is no joke. And I was out at this other break this morning, and some guy is like, "Why aren't you at the Wedge?" I'm like, dude, I'm 54 years old, and I put in my time in 91, maybe 92. And back then, I just got freaking ragdolled. I think I'm okay not having that.
Honestly, while I was living out in San Diego, I hit a couple of sessions at the Wedge, and it was a eye opener. I had a really nice barrel at cylinders. I also ate sand. And I
If you
was
guys are
like, I was quoting Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this shit.
if you guys are watching, what would be the biggest wave that you would want to ride at the Wedge? Drop it in the chat box. I would like to know what you guys would charge. I don't have anything on bodyboarding news on my end, Jackson, except
Just a
for
side note on the
yes.
Wedge. People talk about waves of consequence around the world. Waves like Fronton, Chopu. We've got one right here in the continental United States in Southern California. It's
Yep,
called the
the
Wedge.
Wedge. And it's
Yep.
freaking beautiful.
Yeah, so there's never any shortage of carnage when the South swells hit.
Yeah, no bodyboarding news on my end.
All right, so let's jump into the video of the week. Um, this one's a short one, sweet one. It's the teaser trailer for the upcoming Pasquale's Bodyboard Pro, the next men's event on the IBC World Tour. Um, I cannot wait for this event. This is one of the more highly anticipated events in recent years that the IBC World Tour has put together, at least for me. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it all go down. The contest window is scheduled July 3rd through 9th, so we're less than a month away. And dude, you're familiar with this wave. Yeah, this has the potential to be a great competition venue.
Yeah. What I tell people about Pasquales is what Puerto Escondido used to be. Perfect A-frames, just heavy water. I mean, a 2 foot whitewash can knock you back straight back to the beach. It's just there's so much water moving out there. I remember one time back in the day, Paul Roach, myself, Ross McBride, and Stoker was there. There was
No
one other.
friends.
Yeah, I was a no friends video trip, and we all showed up in the afternoon at Pasquale's, and we booked a room on the second floor on this motel that's right on the beach. And on the second floor, even at that height, we saw bombs, just making the horizon disappear. It was massive. And we got there in the afternoon. We're all praying that it drops because here's the pros coming into town. They better go out. And it dropped slightly, but it was still, 6 to 9 foot, just heaving top to bottom barrels. And we paddled out there. And well, actually, no. The next morning, we took our time. We watched it for a pretty good hour before suiting up. Roach, myself, Paul, and Ross. Gosh, there was one other person with us. Dang it. But I know for sure it was us three. Paul Roach and I and Ross sat on the beach for about a half hour watching and waiting, and we were sitting right in front of the rip current because that was going to get us out quicker. And it breaks relatively close to shore, kind of like Puerto Escondido. And we timed it with the set. As soon as the set came in, we jumped in the water and slowly just try to hold our ground. And when the sets finished, the rip current just freaking took us straight out. We made it out without duck diving, which was awesome. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we all agreed we just need one and done because we wanted to get one wave and call it quits because it was big. It was too big. And we just wanted to make sure we got at least one. I think it was Ross. Ross got a bomb huge right, and I was over on the right with Ross, and we can see Roach on the other side of the rip current. And Ross got a sick one. You see the spit from behind, and he comes out and he goes in. I freaking look across the rip current, and there goes Roach getting up, drop knee on this freaking bomb. Like he got up, and it looked like it took him like 3 minutes to get to the bottom. So he got up, drop knee, and he was just everything went into slow motion, and then I couldn't see him anymore because the wave went by, and he was able to ride it through and kick out in the rip current, but quickly turned around and caught one in. And I waited for about another 5 minutes and just caught one giant closeout, and that wave was enough to push me all the way in. And that was it. I mean, Pasquale's is no joke. It's heavy, and here's the trailer for the next event. And I really hope that they score and the event runs smoothly. All right, let's make sure we have our audio here, because it's all about the audio. I wonder why this isn't automatically on. Here we go. Rock and roll. You got sound?
Yep.
Camina el viento sobre mi piel, arena viva, dulce y cruel. Suenan tambores en el rincón, México arde con mi canción. Oye el pulso del corazón, baila sin miedo, sin razón. La luna mira, quiere más, el fuego nunca morirá. Baila fuego del desierto, baila conmigo, siente los secretos. Baila fuego del desierto, este profundo, puro y abierto.
Oh my gosh. I want to just give these sponsors a little bit of love. But woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
All right, Jackson.
Frothing to see this event.
Oh my goodness. That is going to be so sick. And my favorite part about all of this is I'm hoping that we get to see the new generation of Mexican bodyboarders, because they are freaking on that level. I mean, there's three of them that come to mind, and those three are definitely going to be able to, stamp their name for Mexico at this event if it's pumping. And that's where they're going to shine. If it's in that 6 to 8 foot range, these bodyboarders are going to make their presence known. I'm really stoked on that.
Yeah. All right, so
sick.
this brings us to our motivational quote for the week, for the episode. And you had asked me to do something about 10 minutes before we went live. So I jumped through a bunch of searches, and I came up with something that came up with a quote that touches on the love between a mother and son, which ties in very well with what we were discussing earlier in this episode. And if you'll allow me just to turn on the light so I can see what I'm reading. And believe it or not, this quote is from Professor Dumbledore in the first Harry Potter movie. And it seems to hit on all notes for what I was looking for tonight. Love as powerful as your mother's for you leaves its own mark. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. For everybody out there, give your loved ones a hug. We'll join you next week for episode 346. We're out.